My presentation is going to focus on two main things. First of all, I'm going to try in my own little way to characterize the current state of Caribbean economies and the uncertainties which we see in the external environment. I'll also try to speak to CDB's role in helping our borrowing member countries to build resilience against external shocks. Ladies and gentlemen, how would I characterize the state of Caribbean economies today? If we were to use the metric of economic growth, a simple and somewhat inadequate measure, we could say that 13 of the 19 borrowing member countries in CDB's membership, we would expect them to grow faster in 2016 than they did in 2015. But two of our stronger credits, that is Trinidad and Tobago and Suriname, will experience negative growth in 2016. Interestingly, all of the services-dependent economies should grow, even if only marginally. This, as you would appreciate, is somewhat of a rebound from earlier years after the Great Recession. The two borrowing member countries whose economies are expected to contract are heavily commodity dependent and also represent a reversal of a trend which had emerged a few years ago. So, ladies and gentlemen, one could conclude that Caribbean economies are in something of a recovery mode, and in my view, that's fair comment, except that this recovery is occurring at a time of great uncertainty in what is emerging as a somewhat topsy-turvy external environment. These external threats include the possibility of economic weakening in Europe and in North America, at the same time that China's growth rate is slowing as that country addresses internal structural weaknesses. The threats also loom ominously in the shape of the correspondent bank de-risking crisis, which portends challenges for the movement of money into and out of Caribbean economies. In addition to these dark clouds, so to speak, is the ever-present threat to economic and social infrastructure posed by natural hazards and climate change, broadly defined. In the face of a surfeit of threats to economic stability and growth, it is not surprising, therefore, that the term sustainable is almost de rigueur in describing the menu of actions which need to be taken in managing Caribbean economies. So how has the Caribbean Development Bank been assisting our borrowing member countries to withstand or to build resilience to the myriad of threats? This morning, we will do an examination of our operations, which hopefully will give you a glimpse into the menu of our interventions which have taken place in 2015. It will illustrate the wide range of products which an institution like ours can deploy in support of a country's effort to build a more resilient and sustainable economic and social system. The judicious use of technical assistance grants, capital and policy loans, blended with our staff's many years of experience working in small island development states, enables the Caribbean Development Bank to partner with its BMCs to build resilience against a raft of different risks. In 2015, ladies and gentlemen, we approved 12 capital loans, 3 policy-based loans, and 62 technical assistance interventions. These approvals totaled $292 million, and when we speak at the CDB, of dollars, we mean United States dollars. This is an increase from 270 million in 2014, and our total disbursements amounted to $160 million. Loans totaling 262 million were made to 10 countries, the largest beneficiaries being Antigua and Barbuda, Belize, and Grenada. Our operations in 2015 were directed towards long-term, inclusive, and sustainable growth. It was also targeted at good governance and the building of resilience. The bulk of the financing was targeted at investments to strengthen and modernize social and economic infrastructure, to improve environmental management and disaster risk management, to build climate resilience whilst promoting energy efficiency and renewable energy, and of course, to promote private sector development and improvements in governance, broadly defined. Infrastructure development plays an important role in enhancing the business environment, in increasing access to employment opportunities for our people, and generally in reducing poverty. In the area of economic infrastructure, we approved 7 loans totaling $121 million, or 46%, almost half of our approvals. These projects included improving water supply in the Bahamas and right here in Barbados, upgrading the John Compton Dam in St. Lucia. It was targeted at flood mitigation, again here in Barbados, and rehabilitation and reconstruction of roads and sea defenses after severe damage from floods and Tropical Storm Erica in Dominica. 4 major interventions totaling $65 million were made to upgrade social infrastructure and included technical and vocational education training in St. Kitts and Nevis, 2 basic education projects in Belize and in Grenada, and 1 project to enhance the effectiveness and sustainability of the Student Revolving Loan Fund, here again in our home country, Barbados. Noteworthy, ladies and gentlemen, was a grant of almost $13 million from the Caribbean Development Bank for technical and vocational education and training in Haiti. We are giving emphasis to the development of the education sector in Haiti because we believe that that is where most of the effort is needed at this particular point in time. The approved projects included components that provided for gender assessments, gender training, and improvements in other support systems for at-risk and vulnerable groups. This is part of our mandate as a development institution. Social and gender monitoring and evaluation was also on the table, along with climate risk and vulnerability assessments and photovoltaic potential assessments. These recurring themes are consistent with ongoing efforts to mainstream gender, climate resilience and disaster risk management, and energy considerations in project design. Just to give you an example, the water upgrade project in Barbados made provisions for an assessment of the gender-related impacts of frequent water outages in the most affected areas in this country. Also, renewable energy capacity will be expanded via the installation of a 550 kilowatt solar photovoltaic plant under the Bahamas Water Project. This initiative, together with a 1 megawatt solar photovoltaic pilot project in Anguilla, is indicative of the success which CDB has had with reorienting our energy focus towards sustainable energy usage. Ladies and gentlemen, I spoke about policy-based loans, and these are a key instrument in our arsenal of responses to the challenges of our countries. Policy development was a thematic area for our assistance in 2015. Our board of directors approved policy-based loans amounting to $65 million for 3 countries. Embedded in the PBLs are inter alia policy and institutional reforms to stabilize the financial sector. This is in Antigua and Barbuda. To achieve fiscal sustainability and to increase country competitiveness. They're also designed to boost growth and to build economic resilience. This is how we intervene in the policy space in our countries, because we recognize that fundamental to economic growth and development is a good policy framework. In order to encourage our borrowing member countries to adopt new technologies in areas such as renewable energy, CDB recognizes that we have to be able to source financial resources which are appropriately priced. I will explain what I mean by that. Where we see this most evident is in ventures such as geothermal energy, where there is very high upfront risk. But as you would know, there is also great opportunity because many of our OECS countries have vast geothermal potential. 3 initiatives in 2015 are worthy of special mention in this regard. First, the 21.4 billion euro Sustainable Energy for the Eastern Caribbean program, or SEEC as we call it, is being funded jointly by the United Kingdom's Department for International Development, or DFID. The European Union is also providing financing through the Caribbean Investment Facility, and CDB is pitching in some of its own resources. Secondly, the Sustainable Energy Facility, or CEF, CDB loves acronyms, for the Eastern Caribbean is a $72 million loan and grant package funded by the Inter-American Development Bank and the Caribbean Development Bank, which will benefit 6 member countries of the OECS, namely Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Both programs will allow CDB to employ innovative financing to advance sustainable energy solutions in these beneficiary countries. We will be able to expand the range of funding and of technical assistance available to both public and private sectors, placing special emphasis on solar, wind, and geothermal energy projects. The third and final initiative to which I will refer is the £300 million UK Caribbean Infrastructure Facility. Beneficiary countries will be able to access grant financing, very important in our highly indebted environment, for new infrastructure projects such as roads, bridges, and port development. These projects are critical drivers of economic growth and employment creation. Let me just tell you who are the eligible countries if you haven't already heard. These are Antigua and Barbuda, Belize, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, Montserrat, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude my presentation by saying simply that I am guardedly optimistic about 2016. Economic recovery remains fragile, but we expect that countries will continue on an upward growth trajectory.